Diddy has been found guilty. Well, only partly. He had 5 charges against him, as we talked about last week, and he was found guilty on 2 of the 5 charges. So I have to come on here and say that I was absolutely wrong. Well, I wasn't absolutely wrong. I was kind of wrong in the verdict, and we're going to talk about it today. So if you guys have not been keeping up with it, on this channel, we have been talking about Diddy's trial, his criminal trial, where he's being charged with a RICO charge. He has a whole organization that he is committing crimes with. He's being charged with sex trafficking of Cassie, sex trafficking of Jane Doe, prostitution of Cassie, and prostitution of Jane Doe. And today we got a verdict, which I was not super surprised that we got a verdict this early on in the, what's going on here? All right, so I was not very surprised that we got a verdict this early on in the deliberations, because the jury was really trying to get out of there as soon as possible. So here we are with the verdict. If you guys don't know what it is, we are going to talk about it today. And today we have our lovely friend / husband, Alpha, joining us live to talk about the case. He has opinions on it. So we are letting him join and talk about the case along with us. I don't know if he's been keeping up with it as much as the BriHive has been keeping up with it, but here we are today. So should we do a recap of what's going on? Or do you want to tell the people what your understanding of the case is, or do you want me to recap that part of things?
That's a tough one. I think you should recap it.
Okay. And sorry, y'all. This is a Wednesday stream. We are on a Wednesday stream because I am going to be unavailable tomorrow. I might be available tomorrow, but it'll be a lot later than I normally stream. And this verdict just came out. We've been covering this case. So that is why I decided to cover it today on Wednesday. If you guys are watching live, make sure you are dropping in the comments your thought on the case and what you think should have happened with the jury, or if you think they got it wrong or you think they got it right. And so let's get into it. Diddy, who has been getting sued left and right since what, 2023, I think was the first case that we covered on this channel, which was the tequila lawsuit, him being sued, or him suing his business partners for the tequila brand, saying that he's only promoting it to Black people. Yeah, that was his argument in that. And then he came back and he got sued by a bunch of people accusing him of doing a lot of SA, sex trafficking, of course, prostitution, which is what we talked about in this case. And then he got hit with a, what would you call it, like a search warrant or something on his house, where they collected a lot of terabytes of information from his home. And basically, in my opinion, based on what they presented at the trial, just kind of invaded his privacy. And we'll talk about why I think they kind of invaded his privacy with taking all of that information that was not used in the trial
at all.
Okay. And then he got hit with an indictment for RICO, racketeering conspiracy to commit criminal activity. Now, what I will say about Diddy's whole situation is he himself, yes, sounds like a criminal. It sounds like he violated all these rules, but what the jury could not come to a conclusion, or they did come to a conclusion on it, what they couldn't come to an agreement on was that there was actually an organization that he was engaging in, or that was engaging with him in committing these criminal acts. So he went to trial for, what was it, 5 weeks? I think it was like 5 weeks of what he was in trial for. And they called numerous witnesses, including multiple of his ex-girlfriends, multiple of his assistants, multiple of criminal investigators, the people that went and collected the information from his house, all of the things. And they went through the trial. The prosecution put on 5 weeks worth of testimony. The defense went ahead and they did their cross-examination, but they didn't actually put on their own witnesses in order to contradict what the state's case, or not the state, the government's case was, the federal government's case was, because Diddy does not have to prove his case. The prosecution has to prove their case against Diddy, and Diddy's attorneys just have to poke a little bit of reasonable doubt into it. And I see a lot of people coming out with think pieces on why they think that the jury got it wrong. But honestly, we already talked about it on this channel. I don't think that the jury got it wrong. I think that the jury did exactly what we can expect for a jury to do, and that they all have different opinions. We got 12 people trying to come to a conclusion on whether this guy should be put into jail for the rest of his life. And he's what, 54, 55 years old? Are we sending him to jail? Are these people participants? Are they voluntary participants? Like, what do we think is actually going on here? So kind of tied everything in a bow of what we're talking about. I know I didn't give a lot of details because we have covered this case in depth multiple times on this channel. So I didn't go super in depth to what the details are because we're going to talk about it as we go through it. So the 5 charges, again, that he's being charged with is the RICO, the sex trafficking, the prostitution, 2 for Cassie, and then 2 for Jane Doe. And so let's talk about the verdict sheet because the verdict came back today. And we're going to talk about whether he is guilty. And the verdict sheet is not that detailed, but we're going to talk about it and see what everyone's opinions are going through it. Again, if you guys are watching live, make sure you are commenting, letting us know what you think about the case. I know we've talked about this case at length, okay? We've talked about this case at length. So y'all let me know what y'all thoughts are. I am also streaming to TikTok, so I'm going to be trying to catch the comments over there, but if I miss them, can you try to catch them for me?
I can try.
Yeah, try to catch them for me. And on YouTube, of course, we bring your chats onto the screen. So let's go ahead and jump into what the verdict sheet actually says. So we got count 1, the racketeering and the conspiracy, which was the biggest charge that he was being charged with. He could face up to life in prison, federal prison, if he was found guilty of the racketeering and conspiracy charge. So the question is, how do you find the defendant? If y'all want any detail on what the instructions were, the expectations were, and finding him guilty for these different charges, let me know. We have gone over it before on this channel, but we can read a little bit into what the law is and what the jury should be considering. And then, so the options are not guilty. Oh, let me actually put this on the stage. So, oh, there it is. There it is. And then I need to make myself smaller. That would be helpful. And this is for the people on the YouTubes so that they can see. Here I go. There we are. We are smaller. We are smaller. Okay. Thank you, Kimmy. I was like, oh, why are we so small? Okay. So how do you find the defendant guilty or not guilty? Do you think that he participated in racketeering and conspiracy? And if and only if you find the defendant guilty of count 1, which is the racketeering, which types of racketeering acts do you unanimously find were involved in the offense? And so remember, he's being charged with a bunch of different things. Racketeering is the full organization. And then there were a couple of things under that racketeering that they could have found him guilty of. Remember, we talked about the arson. We talked about the prostitution, the sex trafficking. We got, what else did they have? Intimidating the witnesses. What else?
Bribery.
Bribery was definitely one of them. There was a couple of more. I think that was like 4 or 5 that we just listed. But there's the kidnapping. Oh, here we go. We got a list. We have a list of what
Forced labor.
Yeah. So we got the kidnapping, arson, and these are the predicate acts of the organization. Kidnapping, arson, bribery, acts involving witness tampering, acts involving forced labor, acts involving sex trafficking, acts involving transportation for the purposes of prostitution, and acts involving drug distribution. So those were the, what was that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different predicate acts he could have been found guilty of. And if you guys have been watching the case, or if you heard about the verdict today, that the answer was no. He's not guilty on racketeering. So he doesn't have an organization that he's engaging with. What was that?
They took that away. I think they would have had a stronger case if they kept, no immunity for all the participant. Then you can show an organization.
And so you said if they wouldn't have give immunity to all of the people in the organization. When did I spell that? That's interesting. What do you mean by that?
If I was a juror, I would believe the case a little bit more in terms of racketeering if the prosecutors did not give immunity to the witnesses that they presented and just left it to Diddy to defend himself. I think they would have had a stronger case. I would have believed that, okay, there is an organization that are doing things and, they're working as a team. But if it's just an individual, it's hard. You know, it's like playing football by yourself while the other team has 11 players.
Yeah. So essentially for the racketeering, you have to prove that there was an organization. And I feel like, not that I feel like, what I see a lot of people commenting on with their think pieces on TikTok and shorts and Instagram reels and everything of, it was a clear RICO. It was a clear RICO. It was not a clear RICO. The organization that they're asserting was the organization was just his business in general. And we talked about this on my last stream of, yes, you can pierce the corporate veil and say that Diddy was inappropriately using his company funds, his company resources, all of those things in order to engage in his freakiness, right? To engage in the freakiness, to put it just quite simply. That's what he was doing. He was using his business money, his business, associations, whatever. But the question is, was the people that they're accusing of helping him out, were they actually in agreement with this organization?
That's more to my point of, they took that away. I think they would have been able to find out, because I think there were times that it was reported that these individuals actually hosted their own freak offs, and they found other people, or they're the ones that kind of set it up. So if I was a juror, I would believe that story more, to say if you tied them all together, not just making it seem like you're targeting one individual. And I think also the case could have taken a different direction if they didn't focus so much on Cassie. They made it seem like they had all this evidence, but it was just Cassie and Diddy and all the ladies that he had a relationship with, and the relationship is ended, and now they're kind of a little bit jealous. Their statements were even talking about Young Miami, who Diddy was dating at the time, saying that she came into the picture and he gave her what they wanted. That kind of comes off a little jealous. So that's just my opinion for this moment.
So you think that like Cassie and Jane Doe and everyone was a part of it, and they kind of got immunity, which made them less credible because they actively participated in the crime. Because let's not forget the things that they are doing. Whether they were the victims of it or not, it was a part of the crime. And the big thing that the prosecution tried to focus on was kind of like a Me Too movement situation of, it only takes one time for you to say no, but you engaged in it, can we say like 50 times at least, at least for Cassie, over 10 years, 50 times at least you said yes. And then this one time, or I guess 4 or 5 times they had against her, you want us to believe that you said no. And that's the thing that the what do you call it? The jury was probably grappling with, of whether they think that is, adequate.
Yeah. And I think some of the text message that was shown actually gave a different view in terms of her claim. It swayed even my view of her, because there were times where she was sharing that she wanted to have those events, or she hosted those events. She went out and found individuals for those events. Most people usually will veer away if you get the opportunity to run away. And I didn't see that. I saw a willing participant in the case where, hey, this is what we like to do. This is fun for us. And, I think jealousy definitely did play a part in there, where they felt maybe others were getting more of a benefit than they were. And so this was kind of retaliation in a sense, because they were fine when they were benefiting, the luxury life, whatever he was providing, because we know Cassie was not selling albums. I don't think I've ever in my youth.
You don't think Cassie was selling albums?
No, from when I was a kid, I think there was one song, me and you watched the video of the song and we had our critique to that. And I don't think that video even went that far. I've never heard anyone at a party say, hey, turn on that Cassie, So I don't think she would even trend in today's era. I'm sure if I went to my little brother or my little sister, who is 22 now, and say, hey, name me 2 Cassie songs, she wouldn't even be able to name me one.
In that era, though.
But that's what I'm saying. So we see a lot of artists that are, trying to gain ground because their popularity is gone. Their crowd is a little older. They're a lot busier, and they're not able to find the youth to really listen to them. So I think Cassie missed it with my era. Definitely missed it with my little sister's era.
Not with my era.
For sure missed it with my little brother and probably people before me. So I would call her a one-hit wonder, and I think she was best remembered.
God dang, the case is about Diddy, not to tear down my girl's whole career.
I'm saying that they made the case appear as if it was a Diddy and Cassie case. So
initially,
that was the focus. So if I was a juror, that's kind of my focus. So if I had to decide guilty or not, I'm looking at it from that perspective of, okay, it's just between these two individuals. So
let me pop up some of the chats real quick, because you just kind of ratted on Cassie's goddamn career at this point. So we got Kimmy saying, I think Cassie said she was involved in at least 100 or maybe hundreds of freak offs. Yes, I can only imagine that it was that much or more, right? I mean, hundreds probably. Hopefully not thousands for her sake, because how do your body parts go through all of that? I hope it was not thousands. I hope hundreds. I hope it's hundreds.
Sores and so forth. So I guess antibiotics were utilized.
Kimmy is of our era, and she said, Alpha, what? Me and you was everywhere. And that's exactly the song that he's talking about. Now, what he's talking about is the talent as far as dancing probably wasn't there in that video when you compare it to other artists of that era. So I could kind of agree there. But that song was very popular. I guess it might have been amongst more women. So that's probably
going to tour with that song.
She has.
So would you go to an artist that has an hour show to play a 3-minute song?
Well, she had one album. I don't really know. She had a couple of songs
in the album.
There were multiple songs that were popular. I just can't think of the names of those songs. This is not a Cassie. This is not a Cassie hating stream. Okay.
Well,
we got John.
I'm focusing on it the same way the prosecutors tried to make the jurors focus. If I'm speaking as if I was a juror, so just saying.
Okay, and so we got John Smith, but he doesn't like his thing shown. He said he guessed Celine Dion didn't have a chance.
I don't even know who Celine Dion. I know I might be showing my age. Usually when people mention Celine Dion, I'm thinking
that would have been right in your era as well.
Is it? My parents talk about Celine Dion. My mom especially liked her, and my mom's like, what, 50s? So
God dang.
Just saying.
Not you blasting that lady's age.
She was a couple years too early.
Okay, so John, no. Celine Dion does not. She can't win with Alpha. Okay, Kimmy says, okay, one hit wonder may be sort of fair, but Diddy controlled her career and had her in a crazy contract. And I think he didn't want her to get too successful because he wouldn't have control. That is also true. She had a 10 album contract and we saw her come out with one.
Partial.
I think it was a whole album.
I mean, I think what he did was he knew she wasn't going to go far, and he was interested in her, which is a little perverted because she was very young.
Yeah, he was 16 years older than her.
And I could see him taking advantage of that opportunity of, someone that is impressionable at that time, and saying, hey, I'm going to support you. I'm going to give you all the tools to succeed and so forth. And, she wanted to be successful. So she thought, hey, he's going to introduce me to the people. I'm going to probably spend less money on publicity. And doors are just going to open. But I think deep down, he wanted that relationship with her. And so I could see him taking advantage of that young girl at that age.
Yeah. So Kimmy said you're a hater. Not you hating on Cassie. Why would you do that? Why Why would you do that? Oh my gosh, I never even noticed these little things. Kimmy, you're number one commenter for the for the live stream. And John says, yes, textbook grooming then.
I agree.
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely.
Textbook grooming. But what I wanted to get into, I know you got opinions. I know you got a lot of opinions, but I did want to get into what the actual racketeering and conspiracy was. We have covered it on this channel before, but we do want to cover what the actual jury instructions were to see why they didn't come to the conclusion of that this was conspiracy and racketeering, aka the RICO charge. So elements of racketeering and conspiracy. Count 1 charges the defendant with conspiracy to violate. Let me actually show it so y'all can read it. I don't know if y'all want to hear my voice like that. Y'all can, do what you do with it. Okay, we're going to add it to the stage and we're going to make it bigger than me. Okay, here we go. It's bigger than me, okay? So it charges the defendant with conspiracy to violate the Racketeer Influence and Corrupt Organization Act, otherwise known as the RICO statute. In order to prove that the defendant conspired to violate the RICO statute, the government must prove beyond a reasonable doubt, not because we feel like it, okay? Beyond a reasonable doubt, each of the following elements of the offense. First, that in or about 2004 through 2024, there was an agreement. That's the big thing. An agreement among 2 or more persons to conduct or participate in the affairs of the enterprise through a pattern of racketeering activity. Second, the racketeering enterprise or its activities would have affected in fact affected interstate or foreign commerce. Remember, he was crossing state lines, Florida to LA to Miami, or Miami isn't Florida, New York, all of the things he was crossing state lines. Interstate commerce is what we're affecting. Third, the defendant knowingly and willingly joined that agreement. He was in agreement with himself, which doesn't count because you need 2 or more persons, right? Mm-hmm. That's where I think they fail. Fourth, the defendant knowingly and willingly agreed that he or another member of the conspiracy would commit 2 racketeering acts, as I will define the term for you. That was what they said. I'm not going to define it, but we might define some of it. It's kind of long, but it's 62 pages. 62 pages of jury instructions of what they're trying to find. So those are the elements, right? That between that time period, there was an agreement with 2 or more people. The racketeering enterprise or its activities would be affected in interstate commerce, that they knowingly and willingly joined the agreement, and the defendant knowingly and willingly agreed that he and another member to the conspiracy will commit 2 racketeering acts, which was those 8 that we talked about, they're gone. Oh, wait, no, they're not gone. Let's go to the other one. Acts involving kidnapping, arson, bribery, witness tampering, forced labor, trafficking, transportation for the purpose of prostitution, and drug distribution. So, do you think they met those elements?
No, I actually heard some of the audio or transcripts read out of them trying to utilize people to meet those points, like Kid Cudi. And
so let's talk about it.
Okay, let's talk about it. So first, was there agreement between 2 or more people? I don't even think they made it past this.
No. I think this is my opinion. Okay. My opinion and my opinion only. Okay. I'm not on the jury, but I am a lawyer, so I kind of understand. I think Diddy is a criminal. Diddy engaged in bad things. Yeah. Absolutely, Diddy engaged in bad things. I don't think that he had the organization. They're trying to say Bad Boy itself was the organization, but we heard from multiple assistants. 5 assistants came forward and said that Diddy was bullying them. They needed to put food on their table for their family, that they locked them in a room and interrogated them, that he bullied them and held a gun and all of those things. Those assistants were intimidated. But you're telling me the 2 people that y'all didn't give immunity to were not intimidated? Yeah. Because who were they going up? They wasn't going after Jay-Z and Jeff Bezos and all them people out there that was probably at the Diddy parties, right?
Yeah. Jeff Bezos.
Let me not say that before I get shunned by the BriHive.
I mean, you are speaking correct, because Jeff Bezos' party was filled with people that were at Diddy's party. So
we're not talking about them people. He's talking about his chief of staff, the woman he hired, and his security guard. Yes.
Oh, wow.
That's who they're saying was the bad people. His security guard and his chief of staff. All people of which he's paying.
Yeah, no. I think they would have had a better case if they kept the people that organized the whole claim of racketeering that they were trying to get in, because if they were setting up the dates, there were evidence of Cassie setting up the dates from state line.
But it has, the organization has to be two people that agreed. So they're arguing that Cassie was not in agreement. She was being forced, all of the things. They're saying Jane Doe, sometimes she was in agreement, but other times she was not in agreement. She was being forced. We're saying the assistant that got immunity, they were not in agreement. They were being forced. And the next assistant, they were not in agreement. They were being forced. And then the next assistant, they were not in agreement. They were being forced. And then we got this other chief of staff. She was in full agreement. She's not being forced.
So pretty much, or are they trying to say that if I'm doing something illegal, right? The first time I participate with you, the next time I deny, and then the next time I participate, when you get caught, I get to walk free because not every time I agreed.
Yes.
Yeah, no.
That was the argument. That was the argument. So yeah. I don't think they got past the first prong.
Yeah.
And if you guys were keeping up with the jury deliberations, you know that they came out and said that one of the jurors is not participating adequately. They're basically not following the rules, and they're like, nope, he's guilty of RICO. I don't care what. That's what I'm assuming. That's what I'm assuming.
That's how they said it to them.
They're like, he's guilty of RICO. I'm not changing my mind. Folded his arms and sat in the corner. That's what I imagine it as. That's probably not what it was, but that is what I imagine it as. So there was at least one person that thought he was guilty of having an organization, in which I can see how people came to that conclusion, because there are a lot of people giving think pieces of, yes, there was an organization. He owned Bad Boy. These people worked for Bad Boy and they protected his reputation. But what does protecting Diddy's reputation do for anybody else?
No one. I don't think even he cared enough to protect his reputation, because if that was the case, this was a horrible job at doing it. He left voice messages. He had text messages. He was high.
He was recording his own threats.
So I think it was an individual that felt that he was above others, that he can get away with things. He did not care. I do think there's also a little hint of he didn't know that what he probably was doing was also a crime.
Yes, he did.
Hold on. Because the people that he was participating, he didn't think they would come back and say, you were holding me against my will, because there's audios of him telling people, the Jane Doe, that if she was ignoring him and she's planning to leave, that this was it. And so I don't think someone that's trying to hold you against your will and so forth will just let you leave.
But the thing is, it's like coercive control is what that is. If you leave, I am no longer funding your lifestyle. That is considered abuse and a domestic violence kind of situation. But as we know, this is federal law. We're not talking about domestic violence, but it can be seen as a form of coercive control. I think the thing that came up with this jury is we had people ranging, I think, was it 29 to 74? Mm-hmm. And so when you get into them upper ages, they was telling their wives that. Yeah. You leave, you're not getting my retirement. You leave, you taking these kids, you leave. Like, that was something that was normal for them.
And I think the temperature with society now, especially with social media, you see a lot of that. So I think a lot of people have a bias to it. And that's the thing about social media. You see things or hear things that you wouldn't have if there wasn't social media. You just hear it from your parents or just people in your community. So when you open social media, it makes it seem like every woman is taking some man's money and, you know, they're all in need. So if that's what you're viewing, that's what's going to be posting to you repeatedly. So I could see them having that bias for sure. Because in my professional life, I've heard men make those statements. And
they had 8 men on the jury. That's why I said he wasn't going.
Yeah.
That is why I said he's not going. If they get him for trafficking, they should have got him for trafficking. I think they should have. But you got to get 12 people to agree that he should have been guilty of trafficking.
The trafficking of the woman?
The trafficking of Cassie and Jane Doe.
I felt like if they had,
we're gonna get into that.
Okay,
you going on tangents. I gotta get through my. I
apologize.
That's why I roll solo, y'all. Gotta get through this within 2
Am I
hours.
about to make my own RICO against you? Is that what it is?
I'm just saying we gotta keep going.
This what this is? Is the threat?
No, I cannot be here all night. Like I got work in the morning, all the things. Okay. So we have only reached the first prong of RICO. Second, the racketeering enterprise or its activities would have affected interstate commerce. They don't even get there because they don't have an organization, in my opinion. But did it affect interstate commerce? Absolutely. They cross state lines. That's all you got to do. All you got to do is cross state lines.
But he has a jet.
And he crossed state lines.
If he had a jet, would you cross state lines or would you just drive it around California?
What? You can drive. We can literally drive to Mexico right now from where we are.
But if you have a jet,
you're crossing state lines.
I get it, but I mean, it's just a dumb statement I'm making. But I would want to fly it across the states. And I think my thing about it, right? I think those were things that some of these people felt like they benefited from. Not everyone gets to ride in a private jet.
It doesn't matter. Did he cross state lines?
Yes, he did.
That's it. That's the answer. That is the answer. John Smith thinks you're the devil's advocate. Okay, he crossed state lines. Let's get into number 3. Did the defendant knowingly and willfully join that agreement? Defendant is Sean Combs, Diddy. Did he willfully and knowingly and willfully join? Yes, but there was no one else agreeing with him. He's in the corner talking to himself. It's like, am I going to beat Cassie up? Absolutely. Am I going to take her across state lines to engage in this freak off? Absolutely. Let me call my assistant to book me a hotel. Is the assistant engaging or agreeing for Diddy to engage in freak offs?
No.
By working for him?
I think they were just doing their job. You know, they probably were not even aware of the magnitude of what was happening. They probably saw, oh, we're flying to California, we're picking up Cassie. I'm just being realistic. I'm not looking at it in the sense of like, oh, I'm going to be flying to California because me and Diddy going to go, you know, commit a crime and a state line crime that I could possibly be liable. It's like, oh, we're going to fly to California. It's a 5-hour flight. We're going to be using the private jet. This should be fun.
You know what I just realized on this list? The distribution of drugs is not listed on the verdict list. Oh, no, it is. It is there.
Wasn't that one of the things they wanted to drop? They didn't want the jury to focus on?
They said that, but they kept it in there. It was just like that they weren't charging him with it, but they were technically never charging him with it. So that part honestly was confusing for me. So
well, they tried to hold him by having one of the employees talk about grabbing drugs for him and
what it is a predicate act for the racketeering charge. So in order to have the RICO, you have to be doing illegal stuff. So distributing drugs will include the illegal stuff. I think they said they were dropping the arson issue and then also I forgot what the other one was, but they said they weren't dealing with that, but they still left it on the list. So I don't know what the point was. I think they were just trying to bring more attention to the case, honestly, because they were never actually charging him with those crimes. Yeah. So, okay. We got through number 3.
Yay.
Jeez. Sorry to be so boring to you. Did he join the agreement? If there was someone else to agree with, I think he joined the agreement. And 4, did the defendant knowingly and willfully agree that he or another member of the conspiracy would commit to racketeering acts as they will define, which is down below. We're not going through all of that, okay? So did he agree to commit the racketeering acts? Yes. Did he wanted to sex traffic people? Absolutely. Yes. Did he wanted to prostitute people? Yes, Diddy did drug distribution. You don't have to buy it. You don't have to sell it. He was passing out drugs like candy. Absolutely.
So wait, are you going to word it the way you worded it? Or would you word it in a way where it would show the action, but in a different way. Did Diddy
What do
want
you
to
mean
have,
by that?
like, did Diddy want to have a freak off and bring people from state lines to come and participate?
Absolutely.
Okay. I think the jury would have understood that a little bit different than using the
That's what it's called. Let me try to find it. You can give your opinion while I try to find their
I'm just
drug
saying some of the
distribution.
things, they just made it a little bit more complex. I think in my profession, we teach people in like a 3rd, 4th grade level.
Mhm.
And if we could go down lower, we will, because it just makes it easier for people to comprehend.
Okay, let's talk about it.
Let's do it.
Sorry, y'all, I'm yelling. I don't know why
You are yelling.
Okay, possession with the intent to distribute controlled substances. Let's get us back on stage with this. Okay, here we go. The category of criminal violation is possession with intent to distribute or distribution of narcotics and controlled substances, including cocaine, oxycodone, alprazolam. You the medical professional. How you say that? Alprazolam 3. 4 methyl meth. It's meth. Gamma hydroxyburic acid, ketamine, cyclosilin, and methamphetamine in violation of the code. The elements of distributing or possessing with the intent to distribute controlled substances are: the conspirator distributed a controlled substance or possessed a controlled substance with the intent to distribute it. He bought drugs to give to his freak off members. Yes or no?
He did.
Okay, we don't need explanation. Okay, the conspirator did so knowingly and intentionally. He wanted them to be high or no?
I think he was also maybe held to that standard. Look, we have had parties and we bought drinks.
Don't put me into no criminal enterprise. Okay, I'm not drugging folks. Okay,
but
so did he want to bring drugs to the party? Yes or no?
I think that was his party favor.
He wanted
his party favors with the drugs.
It was more entertaining if they were high.
I think the people coming also expected there to be drugs.
That's not what we're talking about. Did he knowingly? We gotta look at the letter of the law.
But I want to look at the spirit of the law too.
Did he knowingly and intentionally have them drugged?
Yes, he knowingly.
Yes, he did. Okay, the substance was in fact a controlled substance.
I mean, yeah, that one's easy.
Yeah. Okay, they go on to explain all of that stuff. I think we kind of got to it. So he would, in himself, be guilty of distributing a controlled substance.
It's the verbiage. I think when we think of, because I'm looking. Okay, so in my profession,
an attorney would hate to see you coming.
Yeah, because in my profession, I had a patient that was there for maybe a week. And when they came in, they had drugs on them. So when they were discharged, we actually kept the drugs for them. Their meth pipe, their weed, all of that. And we gave it back. Would I say that this patient is a distributor of drugs?
Let me read it for you. Distribution means actual, constructive, or attempted transfer. To distribute simply means to deliver, to pass over, or to hand over something to another person, or to cause it to be delivered, passed on, or handed over to another. Distribution does not require a sale. So if you go to a Diddy party and you go, Diddy, I would like some Molly. I'm gonna get kicked off the stream for this. I would like some Molly, Diddy. And he gave you the Molly. He has now distributed the Molly to you.
So, okay, my example is still valid in saying we held that patient's.
No, we're not talking about patients. We're talking about the law.
Hold on, just hear me out. I heard you out. Hear me out, right? So held the patient's property with all these contrabands that I fully know are drugs that this person is going to use. And upon discharge, I then gave it back to this individual. Would that make me a distributor?
Yes, you possessed it.
So I should be in jail.
You possessed it knowingly.
No. the
not
hospital, everyone should go to jail because we participated in it.
Not to be. If you knew that he had drugs,
yes, I knew what type
why
of
did
drug.
y'all throw it away?
We
That's
can't.
something.
You cannot. That's their property. That's
Sound like the hospital be committing crimes. Honestly,
I'm just saying.
Hospital is committing.
We cannot.
John said you had a duty to return the drugs.
Yeah, we have to give them back their drugs. Although we know these individuals are going to utilize the drugs, we have to. It's not for us. It's not a crime for you to do drugs. We're not law enforcement.
Okay, let me help you out a little more. The drugs cannot be found solely on the ground that a person was near or close to the drugs, nor can it be found simply because the person was present at a scene where drugs were involved, or solely because the person associated with another individual who did not control the drugs or the property where they were found. So you in your job, you don't control that. That is just their property that they turn into you and you give it back to them. So no, you would not be guilty for distributing drugs. There you go. However, these factors may be considered.
So at some point,
control
everyone in
the control is the person can possess controlled substances because he or she was in agreement with the person who had physical custody of the controlled substance. In addition, an individual may have possession of the item that is not found on his or her person because the individual has a relationship with the location where the item was. So if he goes, I got meth in my pocket, that person still controls it. You guys are just holding on to it.
But then we give it back to them.
But you're not distributing it because it's theirs. Did you take control of it? It was like, oh, he got meth. Let me try it. Like, no, then you would pass it on to you. Okay.
I would have just voted not guilty on that one as a jury. I'm sorry.
Well, they did too. Okay.
I'm looking at it from the professional's view.
You're like, right on the line with them because they didn't think he was guilty.
I think some of these laws need to be rewritten in a context that is like.
Maybe I should have came to racketeering last because we are not getting through this. Okay. So we know he didn't commit racketeering. In my opinion, he never made it to the organization. We can talk about it more if y'all want to talk about that more. But let's jump into the next part of, let me see where we are. We stopped at, we didn't even get through racketeering on the charge sheet. So let's actually do that. Boom, there we are. So charge sheets, if and only if you find the defendant guilty of count one, did the pattern of racketeering activity include sex trafficking of Cassie Ventura? We know that the jury said no, because they said no sex trafficking at all. So what are your thoughts?
Trafficking.
It didn't apply. Well, we said it didn't apply to the racketeering, so I guess it doesn't matter. We'll get into the sex trafficking stuff once we get there, okay? And then the next, we'll get to it in a second.
Okay.
So,
Your Honor.
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, Your Honor. Thank you. If and only if you find the defendant guilty of count one, did the pattern of racketeering activity include sex trafficking of Jane? Their answer is clearly no, because, hey, they didn't get to racketeering at all. So now let's jump into the sex trafficking of Cassie Ventura. Okay? How do you find the guilty?
Not you giving him a guilty when he was found out guilty.
I kind of think he's guilty of this one. I think the jury got it wrong on this one.
I think he's a bad dude. He was doing bad things, but I also think that the position I'm looking at it from my lens of healthcare, and there is a lot.
We're not talking about healthcare.
We're looking at
about
the jury.
law.
So if I was the jury, I could hear the attorney. You're the attorney right now. You're presenting it, and all I'm hearing is So when the vote came, I'm not surprised they voted that because they probably shared the same views that I just did. Well, can
I get into what it means?
Yes.
Please?
Yes.
Can I get into what it means?
Yes.
Gosh, darn it, we about to kick you off the stream. You just got rehired. Oh, gosh. Just got him.
I feel like you're about to get a RICO.
I am not going to get a RICO. You know what? Actually, go ahead and talk so I can find the next one.
You gotta hold me against my will, you know. If I don't do this, then this happens. I do feel like there are
exactly. So you understand And that's why the people on the jury was like, oh, I tell my wife if she don't wash the dishes, I'm not taking her on a date. That's not force. That's not coercion. You can see how they came to that conclusion, right?
That's what I'm saying. That's the jury, just regular people. So, you know, they experience some of the things you're saying. And I think when you make the verbiage a lot easier, people can kind of picture the situation in their life. And they're like, no, I mean,
no.
If I had a private jet, I'll fly across state lines too. And, you know, if I was doing weed and I had weed on me and I went from Florida to California, then hey, I don't do weed though. Let's just
trafficking drugs.
But if I had a drink and they're like, oh, it's illegal to have drinks, I'm in the sky. Like, is the sky police gonna pull me?
Yes, the federal government does not allow you to drink your own. Yes, they can arrest you. They can have you arrested when you land. They can lock you up.
So what if I finish my drink by the time I land?
They zip tie you
in the air.
Yeah, they can zip tie you.
And that so the sky police is gonna come and stop me.
The flight attendants. And sometimes
you work for me. Why would you zip tie me if you work for me?
The freak. Are you talking about if you were on a private jet?
That's my private jet. Yeah.
No,
you're gonna do your job.
You're gonna do your job. You're gonna be quiet. That's what all these people did. And they're trying to accuse them of being in a RICO
organization. Yeah, you're just doing your job. As many times you see people and you're like, okay, you shouldn't be doing that.
Let's jump into the sex trafficking. So you said no, they didn't sex traffic Cassie and Jane.
I'm like 50-50 on that. Okay. I think in terms of what sex trafficking is, yes. Do I think that they force them to do sexual acts for gains? No.
Okay.
Based on what I saw, based on what I heard, based on even people that had relationships with these individuals, I think this is kind of who they are in a sense. This is like, they like to do that. And I feel like
they like to do what?
To have sex with multiple people, being watched and so forth. We can't take that away from people. And I think we were having a conversation.
Let's jump into it.
You know,
let me see.
Everyone's entitled to
guilty. We're talking about for Cassie. Let's just talk about Cassie real quick. Count 2 and 4, which is the sex trafficking by force, threats, force, fraud, or trafficking by force, threats of force, sorry, y'all, fraud or coercion, or any combination of such means in violation of the code. Count 2 of the indictment charges that from at least 2009 up to and including 2018, the defendant committed sex trafficking by force, threats of force, fraud or coercion, or any combination of such means with respect to Cassie. Count 4 charges for Jane between 2021, right? The elements of sex trafficking by force, threats, or a force. Why can I not do that? Force, threats of force, or coercion, or any combination of such means in order to prove the defendant is guilty of sex trafficking by force, threats of force, fraud, or coercion, or a combination of such, the government must prove each of the following elements beyond a reasonable doubt. Remember, the government has to prove it. Diddy don't have to prove jack diddly squat, okay? He ain't got to prove nothing, okay? He's just there at this point. First, the defendant knowingly recruited, enticed, harbored, transported, provided, obtained, or maintained a person by any means. Second, the defendant knew or with reckless disregard of the fact that threats of force, fraud, or coercion, or any combination of the means would be used to cause the alleged victim to engage in commercial sex act. This is when the money has to start exchanging hands. Commercial sex act, you pay for the sexual activity. Third, the defendant's conduct was in or affecting interstate or foreign commerce. Number 3, that element is met. He was going across state lines. Miami, New York, LA. Where else was that? Ibiza. I don't know if they were in Ibiza.
Maybe he's from Idaho.
Idaho, we don't know.
Whoa. Hey.
That was what people used to say, like a lot. But anyways, they was going across state lines. So number 3, let's knock that off the bucket list. We know he was in interstate commerce, right? There's no question about that. He was flying prostitutes out all over the place. Okay. So let's start with number one. The defendant knowingly recruited, enticed, harbored, transported, provided, obtained, and maintained a person by any means. I think that element is met.
No.
He recruited.
No.
Why don't you think he recruited?
Because Cassie and Jane Doe.
Guess what? We got definitions for everything.
I get it, but I'm looking at the elements.
Let me know, chat. Do you think that Diddy recruited? Let me get the list together.
They should
recruited,
all of
enticed, harbored, transported, provided, obtained, or maintained a person by any means.
Diddy alone, no. Them all
Diddy
together,
alone, absolutely.
yes.
Who is them all together?
Cassie, Jane Doe, some of maybe his entourage. If you made that as an organization, absolutely, it would have definitely stuck. But as an individual and knowingly having facts that other people also participated.
No. Okay. So when you are driving, right? You're driving your car. Okay. And you need to make a U-turn, right? And the sign says no U-turns. Okay? And you do a U-turn anyways. Are you violating the law? Come on, chat. Are you violating the law? If the sign says no U-turns and you do a U-turn, are you violating anything? Or are you not guilty because the cops aren't there watching you do the U-turn?
Both.
My friend told me that. They said if the cops not there, it's not illegal.
Both.
That's the theory you're leaning under. If the cops are not there, it's not illegal. So if she is agreeing in the moment, it's not illegal. No, it's still illegal. It's still illegal.
The cops are not there, so it's not illegal.
That's what he thought. And look at him on federal charges. Missed his birthday and everything.
Like I have to go down the street to turn a U, and there's no one around.
Is it illegal? Is it illegal? Yes or no?
By the letter of the law, it's illegal.
Absolutely.
By the spirit of the law, I'm going to be late. I got to go.
So the question is, and for John, is 3 prongs. Did he knowingly recruit, entice, harbor, transport, provide, or obtain, or maintain a person by any means? Second, did he
does it only knowingly have to be one of those?
Just one. Or is the operative language. Or. So just one of those things. And then
I could see that.
Second, the defendant that the defendant knew or recklessly disregarded the fact of force, threats of force, fraud, coercion, or any combination of such means would be used to cause the alleged victim to engage in commercial sex acts. So basically, did he move this person around? Did he use force, threats, fraud, coercion, threats of force to basically make them participate in paid sex? And then did it affect interstate commerce? We already knocked number 3 off the list. It's going to affect interstate commerce. He flew them across state lines to engage with prostitutes in different states. So we're looking at, did he knowingly recruit, entice, harbor, transport, provided, obtained, or maintain a person by any means?
I would say both of those, yes.
Absolutely, because he recruited the young girls. The young girl, because I think the other lady was a little older. He recruited the young girl for sure. He enticed the young girl. Hey, come with me, this old man, and I'll give you money.
I hope he didn't put it in those words. Come with me, this old man.
I'm sure he didn't.
You got to entice a little better than that.
I'm sure he didn't call himself, oh, do you want to live this fabulous life with
Star
Diddy?
Island? We saw Star Island. It was nice. So maybe.
Would you be enticed?
To go to Star Island?
With FC?
No.
Oh, Star Island is
after
where
I know
Miami
the facts of it. If I didn't know, then there's a lot of people that don't know. I think for me, once again, I do want to reiterate, if I was a juror, based on my experience, based on the things that we allow for people, we look at the humanity. It's like if my patient, we know they do drugs, right? And they are admitted and they're asking for pain meds, that I know this patient is most likely getting high because every hour they're asking for more meds. We still give them.
Do I have to give another example?
I get it. You're on the law side. I get it 100%. But I'm saying if I'm the juror, that's what I'm looking at. I hear what you're saying. Yes, it sounds cool, whatever, right?
Sounds cool.
Just like I'm gonna do a U-turn. You put your law, whatever, cool, right? I'm looking at it as, okay, this person is probably hurting and I'd rather help them. So I'm coming more of,
oh, you'd rather give them drugs.
I would, yes.
So Cassie is a young girl that needs money, and so you would rather take her across state lines to engage in sexual activity and give her some money and give her some money so she can survive. You're Diddy.
No.
Diddy.
No, if you word it this way, Cassie is a young girl that needed money and needed help and she needed promotion, and I had the ability to do that, and it's somebody that I liked in that moment, I could see someone doing that. And I'm being more realistic and saying that's how that probably played out.
Yeah, but it's still illegal.
It is illegal. There's a lot of stuff in the world that's illegal, right? But there's also understanding where the humanity of how people sometimes have trials and tribulation and fall into things, and they're blinded by their own action.
Okay, so he enticed her. So that's already 2 out of the sentence. Harbored, that's a little bit on the rocky lane, okay? Like, did he harbor her or did she stay willingly? I think that's where the jury probably grappled with, because sometimes she was there voluntarily and sometimes she wasn't. Transported, you talked about it. Get on my private jet. She on the private jet. She out there. She outside.
She's in the air.
I shouldn't be laughing. She outside, okay? Transported, provided. She got an apartment, she got food, she got drugs, she got everything she needs. He provided for her.
But at some point she could say, I don't use drugs. And
she did though.
That's my point. Is some of the stuff that you're saying, I hear 100%, yes, lock them up based on the laws in place. But you have to take the humanity aspect of it.
No, you don't.
Hold on. No,
you don't. Did they prove this beyond a reasonable doubt? He transported her. He provided for her. He obtained her. He enticed her. He recruited her. He said, if you come with me, I'm going to give you 10 albums. My guy gave her one album. This is what he gave her. Chris Mullen is on it. Doesn't the jury have to apply the letter of the law, not your feelings, buddy?
I get it. I'm just saying, I think people have their biases. So
yes, that's why you're not going on the jury.
But the jury is full of people who are just regular people.
And that's why he's not guilty of it. Because I think he meets all the qualifications for this portion of the trial.
I 100% agree. If you're going by the law and everything that is written in the law, yes, 100. I think maybe the RICO for sure not, but everything else, absolutely, he would be guilty of it.
So you're on my team.
I am, but I want to bring.
You want to protect Diddy?
I'm not protecting Diddy. I'm just giving you a perspective of sometimes that something is wrong, like it's wrong, but not everyone is perfect. So you have to come in that humanity and meet people where they are.
You still go to jail though.
Yes. Yes.
Whether you're perfect or you're not, you go to jail. Okay? That's why they don't allow assisted unaliving suicide. They don't allow assisted suicide because that's wrong. Even though that person wanted to do it, you don't just be like, all right, let me not go that far. YouTube is probably not liking what I'm talking about already. Okay? So we've made him cross over, y'all. He still has opinions, though. So I'm not gonna get it.
I'm just,
Okay. So, and did he maintain the person? Absolutely. He maintained her. Hair was done. Outfits was on. First prong is met. I don't care what nobody says. First prong is met. Third prong is met.
Second, too.
For Cassie.
Second as well.
We didn't get there yet.
For the sex trafficking?
Yeah, we're getting to the second prong.
The second part.
I didn't get to that yet.
Oh. Okay.
Okay. Second, the defendant knew or recklessly disregarded the fact that force, threats of force, fraud, or coercion, or any combination of such means would be used to cause the alleged victim to engage in commercial sex acts. So we know they engaged in commercial sex act. He was paying them, paying their rent, paying for everything, right? That's commercial. Do we got force? Remember, they were in agreement sometimes. Sometimes.
Maybe the coercion part, but I wouldn't say.
We're on force.
Just force?
Yes.
I don't know. I don't know.
Follow the direction on the stream, man.
I would say no on the force aspect of it.
No force. You don't think so?
I don't think so.
I think we might have.
She was making
force.
threats to people that she could get rid of them, and she.
I think we have force. He's beating my girl up, and they made her do it on a UTI and on her period. Cassie. We're talking about Cassie right now. We'll get to Jane Doe.
You have to do a whole puzzle.
Yeah, because they think I've been on here too long, and they think I'm a robot. Because some people be on like TikTok sleeping on live stream.
Oh, okay.
They cut you off at an hour.
Yeah. Okay. I could see that if they're using that. So are they using pieces of?
You want to get the elements for force?
No. My question to you is. They're not using. Are they using one-off isolated incidents?
Yeah, so they have like three. Incidents? They have like 3 or 4 incidences that they said that Cassie was sex trafficked. They said yeah, she agreed to it sometimes, but other times she didn't. So for instance, one of them is the hotel incident where he dragged her through the hallway and all that, and when she was trying to leave. But apparently they engaged in a freak off, or like when she was on her period and she didn't want to do it. They said they made her engage in the freak off and she had the UTI, whatever. They made her engage in it. So is that by force? If you dragging somebody down the hallway, that's
So
that is for sure by force.
Force.
Yeah, okay. That's for sure by force. Okay, let's talk about threats of force. If you don't do this, then this. Yes. That happened. Okay.
Especially financially.
Financially, for sure. Fraud. I think on some of them he said for at least Jane, where I know we talk about Cassie right now, but for Jane, he said if you come and do this freak off, I'm gonna take you on vacation or something like that. And then he didn't take her on vacation.
You take that as fraud.
Yeah, I mean
false promises.
Yeah, that's a false promise. Fraud, in my opinion. We can look at what they define fraud as, but I think it's gonna fall under fraud. Okay. You disagreeing
on that one? I mean, the fact is, yes, there's the force and threat of force. So I would have automatically said guilty on that for sure. I think when it comes to like the sex crimes, I could see it happening. But in terms of you explaining it, so my view on it is it has to be repeated, like continuous repetition of like.
And so they're referring only to certain incidents.
Okay, when you put it like that and you show the evidence to that, then yeah, I could see that. But to my knowledge, if you're saying repeat, no, I saw evidence of the participant doing other things.
Because you got that recording of her threatening people. Okay.
There's a lot of.
What about coercion? I think that's he was like.
That one's easy for him.
You're gonna be a broke girl.
That one's easy for him because I think he talks to a lot of people that way. Even Kanye, if you watch some of the like earlier interactions with Diddy and Kanye,
So my question to you would be: ultimately, should Diddy have been found guilty of sex trafficking Cassie? We just went through all the 3 elements
based on. The lawyers defined.
This is the law. It's not lawyers defined. This is the law. Based on those 3 elements. He enticed my girl.
Yes.
He forced my girl.
He did.
And he took her across state lines.
He sure did.
He should have been guilty of sex trafficking. And that's what I said. But you can't get 12 people on a jury to agree with that because they saw the times where she agreed and she went after and she elicited her own prostitutes. Right? She trafficked herself, allegedly, is what the jury found. That's what they found.
I think, like we said, with the jury and who they are, regular people, I wouldn't expect you to have the knowledge or compassion that I have, like how you're saying, oh, you're giving the patients this, knowing that. You probably be like, no, I'm not doing that. Absolutely not. You do drugs. And for me, I'm like, I would probably pull you to the side and I probably will scold you and say, hey, that's very inappropriate behavior. Because
I'm supposed to support them?
It's not, they're going through something that they probably don't know how to make the best decision. And for them to really know the best decision and for you to help them, you're going to have to get all the way from where they started. And a lot of people had a horrible start. A lot of people had bad surroundings, bad individuals, bad teachers, bad experience, things that have built them to be where they are, and they made that poor choice.
Yeah.
So I'm not the punisher. You're the punisher. You're the law. Right? Are you the punisher?
I'm not a punisher.
Are you but no, technically you are the punisher.
I am not the punisher. Okay?
No, because but you want people in a sense to be punished for not doing what was written on the paper, and you don't care what experiences they went through.
It is what it is.
Oh my God.
The laws are the laws. You don't get excuses unless you have a affirmative defense, okay? And he does not have an affirmative defense. He's a freaky dude. He likes young girls, and he likes to control people with his money, okay? So
I think
jail.
I think also he's an individual that was surrounded by people that weren't the best to tell him don't do that. I think there was a lot of enablers, as we see with Elon.
Well, would you not be enabled if he set your car on fire?
To do something?
Yes.
I set his car back on fire.
Okay. Not you battling Diddy. You're going to be in jail right with him.
See? Exactly. You now feel implied to put us both in jail for burning cars.
Yes, that's arson.
But as just taking the law out of it is like, you know, an eye for an eye. You ever heard of that?
Yeah, you still go to jail.
When for me, the way I grew up with my grandfather.
Remember little Dirk?
I get that.
Well, yeah,
I'm trying to give you also upbringing. Like for me, right? My grandfather.
No, we're not going through all that.
Okay.
We're not going through all that. What I said is that you want to do eye for an eye. Remember when little Dirk did that? Where he at? Where's little Dirk? We talked about it on this channel. Where's little Dirk? He tried to get justice outside of the law for his cousin. Was it his cousin, right? My guy is sitting in jail. And nobody's talking about his case. No one's talking about his case.
I got it. I have my opinions on even that, but we're looking at it from two different lenses, I would say. And I get the lens that you're looking at it from, and I don't think it's wrong.
It's not wrong. It's the law.
Right. It's the law.
It's the law. We have to have rules in society.
Okay.
We do.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. So let's talk about Jane Doe. Jane Doe is the one that was on the stand longer than Cassie. Cassie just had her baby. You think the baby is happy that he's guilty on some things? The baby's not happy?
I think Cassie's baby?
Mm-hmm.
No, this is going to be stressful for that kid because this is going to be a constant reminder.
It's an infant.
They're going to grow up. They're going to be exposed to the internet at a earlier age than you were. Because I have a little nephew that's 5 and he's on the internet.
Yeah, but they're not looking up this. We don't even.
Someone is going to send it to them.
We don't even remember stuff from when we was on the internet as a kid.
I was there like teenager. It's a little late.
Okay, so let's talk about Jane Doe. Does she meet the qualifications for sex trafficking? Was she recruited, enticed, harbored, transported, provided, obtained, or maintained by the person? Yes.
He was paying her $10,000 a month.
She was recruited. This is the alleged 50 Cent baby mama. Mm-hmm. Okay. Second, did he know or recklessly disregard the fact of threats of force? I don't know why I keep missing the fraud or coercion. I think so.
Not the force, not the threat. I think the coercion part of it.
She wanted to be paid.
Yeah, because there is videos of him telling her if she does not get on her job, that would be it. And you know, financially, you are holding someone to that. So I agree.
Coercion. It's there. It's there for her. Commercial sex acts, we know.
Damn,
they
that's
were
a
paid
combination
to have
of stuff.
money.
Just
It's a lot. It's easy to get caught up, huh?
Easy to get caught up because it's like
easy to get caught up.
There's all the language,
and that's why I think the jury got it wrong. The jury got it wrong on the sex trafficking, in my opinion. What do y'all think on the chat? Do you think the jury got it wrong? I do. I think they got it wrong. Third, the defendant's conduct affected interstate commerce or foreign commerce. We know that. We know that to be true. Okay. So that's where we have sex trafficking. We don't need to go through all the definitions for that. We're going to jump down to the last and final cause of action that the folks said Diddy was actually guilty of. Do you agree? The prostitution.
Yeah.
I already know I'm getting yellow flagged, at least yellow flagged. Maybe you red flagged on this one, but I might just stick with the yellow here.
Prostitution, yes, I do agree. For sure. Because he had the private jet. I think he was selling the private jet, more of a lifestyle. He is this rich and famous guy. He's not going to put you on the Amtrak from California to Florida. I mean, you're rich. Why would you?
Let's talk about what the elements of transportation to engage in prostitution is. Okay. In order for the defendant to be guilty of transporting an individual for the purpose of prostitution, the government must prove each of the following elements beyond a reasonable doubt. First, the defendant knowingly transported an individual in interstate or foreign commerce. And second, the defendant intended that the individual will engage in an act of prostitution. I think it's an easy one.
Mm-hmm.
Did he knowingly transport these people?
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Planes, boats, trains, Amtrak.
Got him on video 4K.
Yeah.
That one is a given. I can't really say too much on that because, yeah, I mean, he for sure, in terms of prostitution, he was bringing them over to have sex.
And transported them people. Both Cassie and Jane Doe, huh? Both of them. Second, the defendant intended that the individual would engage in acts of prostitution. Freak-offs. That's it. I mean, is there more to say about that?
That one is very easy. Yeah.
That one was easy.
Straight to the point.
There was no way they could not convict him on this one. This one was just in the bag, right? Yeah. Absolutely in the bag. He qualified for the transportation for the purpose of prostitution. He hired prostitutes. Now he said he was paying the people for their time. What do you think?
That's actually the language used by a lot of prostitutes, that you're paying for their time. You pay per the length of time. So
yeah, but he's just saying he paid for their time. They went to dinner or something, allegedly. And then afterwards, they just decided to stay because they liked Diddy and his friends so much that they wanted to engage in freak-offs with them.
That could be both ways.
Do you think that's true, though?
I mean, I could see it, yeah. There's a lot of movies that portray literally what you're saying. I think, what is it, the 50 Shades of Grey that everyone saw? That was a huge hit. People loved it, loved everything about it. People fantasized about that life. And this gentleman is now providing that. So a lot of people are going to participate in those things. People actually lean towards things like that. So we can't be a blind eye. You can write it and say this is the rule on the wall, but when it's applying to people, they're going to have a different view on it. So, you know, I mean, if you look, even there's a thing going on with Monaco. I don't know if you're familiar with Monaco. It's out east, where very wealthy people take people to dinner. So you can only assume that they're flying them across international waters in their private jet.
And they're guilty.
Let's go.
You know what, Diddy, you know why they found Diddy, in my opinion? Not only are these elements very easy to prove, right? Mm-hmm. It's easy to get a prostitution case, but Diddy admitted to it. Did you know that?
What do you mean?
He filed a response trying to get the count 3 and 5 dismissed from the first indictment. Try to get it dismissed because it was count 3. Get it dismissed because he thought they were only trying to prosecute him is because he was engaging with male escorts and he was a black man. And they don't prosecute the white man for it. So he admitted to it. He admitted to that one. There was no way they could not find him guilty. Not only were the elements super easy, but we covered it on the case when he, or on this channel, when he tried to file that motion saying, you're only after me because I'm a black man.
I remember him making that. But how did that confirm that he was guilty?
Because he admitted to it. He said, you're only trying to prosecute me for it because I like to engage with male prostitutes.
So now as a lawyer and you believe in the letter of the law, did he go, I participate?
Do you want me to bring up the document?
No, I'm just asking you.
He admitted to participating in it. You're only coming after me because I did it.
Oh, he said I did.
Yes, because I'm a black man and I did it.
Oh, okay. Yes. It was a question. I was just clarifying that he.
I mean, he didn't say I did it. It's his attorney's writing, but it's like you're only going after him because he's a black man that did it.
You see that? Stick to the laws.
That is the law. His attorney is admitting that he did it, and y'all are only going after him because he's black. And the white mans can do it.
I don't think he admitted it. I think he referenced it.
What's the difference?
Reference it. Like if we're going through where you're saying the letter of the law, if it's written, the light is red and you turn on it and that's what it's written, and sure. He
admitted to doing it. Y'all only coming after me. What was to be the purpose of saying y'all only coming after me because I'm a black man that did it, but I didn't do it. Allegedly, I did it. There would be no reason for him to file that motion if he didn't do it.
Me in the light saying I made that statement, but I didn't admit that I turned left. I just said that statement in terms of
what
the light.
Would you
assume that I turned on that light?
What would be, y'all only coming after me because I'm black and I did a U-turn? Y'all don't get other people because they not black. Yes, that is you admitting to it. Literally, I literally go sit in traffic court. They stream it live in our county. Go listen to it. And they'll tell you, I was only speeding because I had to go to this place. That is admitting to the crime.
Was different. But based on what you stated,
you're saying I should get immunity like the white folks, essentially, is what he was saying. I should get immunity like the white folks because I am black and you don't prosecute black people for this. When in reality, he was just looking up articles and saying that, oh, I seen this rich white dude engaged with the same prostitutes from the same entity as me.
That's not what I'm arguing, though. I'm arguing the fact of, did he say he did it, or are we?
Well, let's pull up the document.
Because it sounds like we're assuming that he said he did it.
He did say he did it. There will be no point of doing the motion. Let me see where, Kimmy, do we have it in the drive? Because I know I covered it on the channel. I just don't know if you helped me with it or if I just pulled it myself. Let's see. Oh, baby. Let's see. What did he say? It's a long document, so let's see if we have it here.
Oh, you guys have a whole drive.
Yes, this is what I do on this channel. What are you talking about?
It's a whole drive.
Yes, we have a lot of content on here. Detention bell, postpone. Housemate. Not in this one. So it must be in my other one. Let's see. You think I'm playing with you?
No.
I got documents on documents, man. Are we in Diddy? Okay.
Wow. That is a lot.
Do you want to back out or you want to?
No, I do want to see that, because you're going off the letter of the law, right? You argued me in terms of the spirit of the law, seeing people for making mistakes, understanding that sometimes you do have to forgive others. And, there are so many things that happen in an individual's life that can affect their decisions in life. So now I just want to see the letter of the law.
The motion to dismiss. Count 3. You want me to really read all of it?
Just search.
He's not going to say, I did this, because it's literally his attorney. Let me see. It's signed by his attorney. So it's not going to be him saying, I did this thing. But let's just look at the intro. Since he don't believe me.
I do believe you. I just need you to prove it.
You don't believe me.
I'm being fair.
Okay. You're not being fair. You trying to contradict me on my own stream, man. Okay, let's see here. What is his argument? Let's see here. I'll make it bigger. This case is unprecedented in many ways, but perhaps most notably and most disturbingly, no white person has ever been targeted of the remotely similar prosecution. Sean Combs is an extraordinary, successful artist, businessman, philanthropist, and one of the most accomplished Black people in the country. He started his first company, blah, blah, blah. No one cares.
I don't.
Yet the U.S. Attorney of the Southern District of New York accuses him of being a kingpin of a RICO enterprise, essentially defined as Mr. Combs himself, and claims the purpose of this faux enterprise is to conduct his personal sex life with his girlfriends. Yes, I agree that it was a personal sex life. I don't think the business. He improperly used business funds. I can agree with that. There has never been a similar RICO prosecution. It is true that, like many others who have achieved fame and fortune in the world of entertainment, Mr. Combs has employees, staff, personal assistants, chefs, bodyguards, and other associates that he lawfully employs for different purposes. It is also true that I'm trying to find it. I don't know.
It's not there.
I don't know everything that's in there. I got it, Kimmy. It was in my other drive. Complicated relationship with significant others. Unlike most cases, let's see. No accusation that any of the girlfriends were minors. Yep, they did not accuse him of that, which I thought that was going to come out. Let's see. The unusual theory, here we go. Of count 3, transporting escorts across state lines for the purposes of prostitutions have never been brought before under this act, which has a long and troubling history as a statute with racist origins. Used to target Black men and supposedly protect white women, the use of escorts, male or female, is common and indeed widely accepted in American culture. Is that not an admission?
No.
That's not an admission?
No.
They're only targeting me because I'm Black, but it's normal to use prostitutes.
That's still even.
That's not an admission. Okay, let's go on. Let's see. It's a part of American culture. The primary escort service at issue in this case is a legitimate commercial business operating out in the open, frequently featured in popular media, including a long-running TV series. It is not uncommon for couples using such services. Is that not? Okay. You're saying he's referring to other people using the services to bring a third person, including, as alleged here, a man across state lines, right? As alleged here, and into their intimate relations. Yet no other person, and certainly no white person, has ever previously been prosecuted under the White Slave Traffic Act for hiring male escorts from another state. Mr. Combs has been singled out because he is a powerful Black man and he is being prosecuted for conduct that regularly goes unpunished.
That's not admitting.
How is that not admitting?
This is making a
statement.
statement.
He is being punished for conduct that is regularly practiced. He's not saying he didn't do it.
It doesn't say he's being punished.
Mr. Combs is being singled out because
he not punished.
He is being singled out as a powerful Black man and he is being prosecuted.
That's not a punishment.
What is the prosecution?
I don't know. To my understanding, it's not a punishment. So I'm looking at your thing, and it's not showing that he's admitting. Okay,
this is just the opening. This is just the introduction.
Oh no!
This is just the introduction, baby. That's all we got here. He's been singled out because he's a powerful Black man, and is being prosecuted for conduct that regularly goes unpunished. That's his attorney's language. Yeah. Count 3 should be dismissed because there is a clear case of selective prosecution. Okay?
I don't think it's
Count 3. Do you want to keep going?
No, but based on the proof, let's say you were the prosecutor and that was your proof and I was the jury and that's what you're trying to convince me to believe. I don't believe it.
But just because they're put it allegedly, they clearly know that he could be the only thing he tried to get dismissed was this. And the only thing that he got prosecuted for was this.
I think
that was the only thing that he got prosecuted for.
If we wrap up, I do have, my overall summary of what possibly happened and why certain things got dismissed or went a certain way.
Here we go.
Because yes, if you're going through the letter of the law, the way you described it, yes, he's guilty.
He likes prostitutes.
Right?
He likes prostitutes.
The problem is, I think the jury probably was looking at it as, are we locking this person up for the rest of their life because of this? And he is so guilty. This is what he does.
You are moving the goalpost.
Okay, bring the post back.
Did he not? Is this not an admission of what he
No.
did? Okay. Just because he puts allegedly in it.
Did you see how I said no? It's understood. It's a no. It's not.
This includes what the
maybe,
indictment describes as freak-off instances in which Mr. Combs had two of his girlfriends would bring a third party into an intimate relationship. He don't have to admit to it. I think it's obvious. You can make the inference. You want to try to fight for Diddy?
I'm not fighting for
Not
Diddy.
you about to be on Star Island when he get out, bro. Not you going to Star Island when he get out.
I'm not.
Oh my gosh. Do I need a divorce attorney?
No,
You gonna be on
would.
Star Island?
I would need one. You already won.
Yeah, I'm gonna prosecute you. I'm gonna prosecute you for sure.
You guys hear that? I think you're about to get a RICO.
Me?
Yeah.
Because I
the
said
rest
it.
to get kicked off the show. There's the
Because you want to be on Star Island with Diddy when he get out?
Is that coercion? You're
No, I'm not. I'm asking is that your ideal?
I don't think I ever would party with Diddy, but I know
Yeah,
from
'cause
growing up.
you're gonna be doing stuff you don't want to do.
No, I think for the longest, everyone knew that if you go to those parties that they participate in, that's just the culture of it. Just like if we go to certain areas in our city and we go to certain lounges or clubs, we're not surprised with who we see or what behaviors are seeing there and what is allowed, right? Just like we did a review on a location. And what did we get? A lot of people were saying that we were the problem because that is socially acceptable by the general population that was there. Thousands of people were okay with that. And just us two had our opinion and maybe a few others. So I think a lot of people knew the type of parties he had. And if you went to his parties and you stayed later, yeah, like I can, like right now they usually have the white party that McMill and a few others attend. I think that party's weird because you saw little baby getting sandwiched by two dudes wearing it was just weird. And they were making fun of him for that. So it's not new in a sense. This is something that happens, but people understand if you go to those parties and you stay that long, it might get weird.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. Well, I think he admitted to it. Whether you want to say he did or he didn't, the fact that he focused on that because he knew that was what he would be guilty of, here we are. Here we are. He's guilty. He's going to jail. For how long? We don't know. We don't know. So for the RICO, I agree that the jury got it right. I don't think there was an organization, so I don't even think we get to the next prongs of like what crimes he committed. Did he commit arson? If and only if they could prove he was the one that did it, which I don't think they proved beyond a reasonable doubt that he was the one that did it. Like he might have had a hand in it, sure. But I don't think they proved that he had a hand in it, right? As far as the bribery, yes, he did that. I mean, he did that alone. I don't think it's a conspiracy. The sex trafficking, like I said, I think he should be convicted of it. He did that. Prostitution, the what else did we have on there? Bribery, the intimidation of witnesses. I think all of the predicate acts that were listed could have been properly proven in this case, honestly. But we just didn't get there because I don't think there was an organization. Number two, the sex trafficking. I think the jury got it wrong. I think they should have convicted him for the sex trafficking because all three prongs were met. But again, we're dealing with 12 people who all have opinions, but they all have to come to the same conclusion. And like I said, I've said it before, not to be sexist or whatever.
Go ahead.
There were 8 men on the jury, okay? 8 men. We have been dealing with devil's advocate all stream, y'all.
I'm the devil's advocate for having compassion.
Yeah. Compassion for Diddy?
No,
Compassion.
No. When we were talking about the case, that's why I wasn't referencing him. I was referencing the things that I see out in the community, that I see in my work. and things that we deal with. That's why I gave those examples. So I understand that people do make mistakes, and there's so much more
mistakes. He been making the same mistake for 30 years.
There's a lot of people that make the same mistake.
That's not a mistake. That's a choice.
So it's like my patient that is going to dialysis because So it's just there's things. So I can't punish people for certain things. So I'm coming from that side of every time we were talking. I could see patients, I could see things. So I have to kind of, be a little bit understanding to say.
And that's why you cannot serve on a jury.
I don't think I could by law.
Nope. That's what the law say. We talked about it. He met the qualifications for those things.
Yeah.
Absolutely, he met them.
Yeah.
But you, with your compassion, nobody wants that in the courtroom. Jeez. No compassion. Did you do it or did you not? Did he do it? Did he do it? Diddy did do it. Diddy did do it.
Diddler do it.
Diddy did do it.
Diddy did. I do think he's guilty. I do think he's a sick guy. 100%. But did he deserve to spend the rest of his life in prison? I don't think so.
I mean, he had 30 years of acting up. He can do 30 years behind bars.
30 years at what? He'll be 80.
His problem. Nobody told him to go after people and tie him up and do all the things.
Damn, you kind of cold.
Would you not want that? If Cassie was your daughter, no, let me not even go there. Yeah. You'd probably be like, she deserves it if she's gonna get into it.
Hey. I'm not sharing that opinion. Like I said, I shared my point of where I was coming from in terms of having that compassion and understanding that people go through a lot in life. I think a lot of people have a lot of hards and traumas and things that they have to overcome. And if I was a juror, I think that would play a part into it. You cannot replace people's experience and how they take situation and biases. I see it every day. So.
We're not talking about that though. We're talking about the law.
I get it. The law. You can write the law all
but
you want.
You can do your opinions and your feelings in the jury room. We're not in the jury room. Okay? Jury got it wrong for 2 counts.
I mean, if you had me as the jury, you can't take that element away.
Well, you're not supposed to consider outside factors. You're supposed to look at the law.
Just like you found out that if the light is red and I'm late for work, I might go through the light.
And you broke the law at that point. You can't get mad if they pull you in for a ticket.
100%.
So what are we talking about here? You cannot get mad.
I agree.
So we cannot be mad that Diddy is going to jail. Because did he do it? Diddy did do it.
But if we had a jury and you were presenting that and they had that similar experience, they're going to have a bias,
Yeah, that's why they try to get those people off the jury.
There's so much you can control.
Should we have him back on the stream, y'all? We're not even done. Okay. Number 3, prostitution. Transportation for the purpose of prostitution. Absolutely. The jury got that one right. Okay. They found him guilty of that. So in conclusion, I know it's taken us an hour and a half to get here, but in conclusion, they found him not guilty of RICO, not guilty of the 2 sex trafficking charges, and guilty of the 2 prostitution charges. I thought honestly that they would get him on counts 2 through 4, which were all the sex trafficking and all the prostitution ones, but they did not get him on the trafficking part of it. I would like to think what their theory and their thoughts were on that, because we literally just went through their jury instructions, and in my opinion, they didn't read the jury's instructions. They didn't pay attention when the judge was giving the jury instructions, because they went and sent back a question asking about what the drug distribution required. And it very clearly, and we went over it here, it very clearly answered their question. So in my opinion, they did not read that jury instruction. And had they read the jury instruction, I think they would have came to the conclusion that he should have been guilty for sex trafficking. He should have been guilty for prostitution. RICO, I agree with them. They did not, to me, meet the burden of it being an actual organization. Like, did he own companies? Absolutely. But was the companies promoting Diddy? No, Diddy was doing what Diddy do. Okay. Diddy was doing what Diddy do. And he was bringing and dragging people into it. Should they also be, a lot of the times, what I would consider is that everyone that was working for him were also victims as well. That's my conclusion on it.
Okay.
Do you want to add anything?
Do you think, well, this would be, I guess, a question for you. Do you think that they dismiss certain, well, not dismiss, found him not guilty on certain counts because they did not want to prosecute him to a life sentence?
Well, that would have been the RICO. The sex trafficking charge didn't carry a life
Their
sentence.
Maximums were pretty high. Their minimums was high. It was like 15-year minimums, right?
Yeah, but if he did it, then he did it. The judge can give him less time.
I thought they would have to give him at least a minimum.
I don't know what the minimum was on the sex
trafficking. It was like 15 years.
Was it?
Mm-hmm. They were heavy.
Let me see.
Those charges that they found him not were the heaviest charges.
I mean, yeah, that can be a reason too if they don't think that he should have been in jail for that long. But they shouldn't be making their decision on that. I thought it had the sentencing requirements in here, but maybe it doesn't. I forgot where I saw the sentencing requirements.
Could Google it.
Oh, this is the wrong document. That would help. If I can talk.
I was like,
no, it's still not in there.
You'll probably be better. Is it on the first one, the verdict? Up there?
I don't think so. Because it's just they don't give the time, the judge gives the time for it. So
it's on Google. I've seen it.
What was it? Sex trafficking. Diddy
sentencing length.
Let's just talk about his sentencing date. I'll look into it a little bit more to see what he was facing, but I don't remember what it was for the sex trafficking one. Okay. Yeah. So, it's RICO. Did they get it right? They found him not guilty. They didn't
Two people.
So you think he should have been guilty?
If he had two other people, they didn't take away his...
So they got it right.
No, if they didn't get it right because they said it was just him.
No, they didn't say that. That was my opinion. They didn't say any of that. They just said he's not guilty of RICO. They didn't give a reason why.
I'm giving my reason why. Why? You're asking me, is he guilty of RICO? And I said no.
No, I said, did the jury get it right?
Oh, if the jury got, yes.
Okay. For the sex trafficking, did the jury get it right?
Yes.
You just went through the elements with me and agreed that he should have been guilty of sex trafficking.
And I also said the length of time they probably looked into.
They're not sentencing the time, though.
Okay, fine. No, they didn't get it right. He's guilty. He did do that 100%. 15 years minimum.
Okay. What about the prostitution? Did they get it right? They said he's guilty.
He was guilty. Oh, yeah. That one was easy.
Okay.
For sure. No one's denying that.
All right. So there we have it, y'all. There we have it, y'all. We have the jury's verdict and we have the BriHive verdict, apparently. So let's go ahead and jump into the comments. I know you guys have been patiently waiting to go over the comments. I hope I remember what everyone was talking about at the time that you made the comment. But if not, feel free to drop in the chat to remind me of what you meant. We got Whitney R saying you two are hilarious. Thank you. Thank you very much. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. We got Shalimar saying, I can tell the feller, what? Thank you.
I can tell the feller's like, oh,
and
wow.
Giving you people purpose and pocket change. I don't know what that means.
They need to learn how to sentence structure.
Yeah, okay. I don't know what that means. Okay. We got Chris Mullen, member of the channel, saying, doesn't the jury have to apply the letter of the law, though? That was you in your compassion.
Yeah.
They do.
100%. But do people follow rules? Do you take a break?
But you don't get a break.
Do you call in sick when you're not sick? Do you take time off?
Calling out, not calling in sick.
It's calling in sick.
No, it's calling out.
Calling out sick.
I don't say I'm sick. I say I'm not going to be able to make it.
Were you sick though?
No, I didn't say I was sick.
Oh, you should be prosecuted.
I didn't say I was sick. I said I'm not going to be able to make it. That's not being sick.
Whatever. But what did you say? He implied so that he's guilty, right?
No, I didn't say I was sick.
But you're not sick, and you.
I never said
Okay,
I
what
was
time
sick.
are you gonna use? Are you using sick time?
They could do PTO or they could use sick
No.
time.
You have. So if they call
No,
sick,
it depends on what job you have. Because the job I had previously, they didn't have sick time. It was all PTO.
Let me let you know it's fraud.
No, it's not.
Yes,
No,
it
it's
is.
not.
You go to jail.
No, I'm not. I'm not gonna be able to make it. You don't have to give them a reason.
You don't, but if they're coding you for sick,
It's not coding you for sick. It's your time. You can call off.
but
Kimmy Walker, member, moderator, consultant, paralegal of the channel. Thank you for bearing with us. Saying they say opposites attract, and an attorney and a juror from hell.
damn, I'm the one from hell. Wow. Oh my god.
Are you talking about us? Maybe. Kimmy, don't do that. He's not going to let me text you anymore. Chris Mullen, member of the channel, saying, true, sadly, juries go by their gut a lot rather than the law.
Mm-hmm. I see it a lot.
Don't let the hubby on your jury. He's going to go with his law and his experience.
I just see a lot of times people.
And he would probably be the foreperson trying to convince everybody. That's the bad part. That's the bad part of letting an alpha on your jury. We got Kimmy Locker saying, I could totally see Alpha leading the charge. Yes, for jury nullification. If he was the on one, yes, exactly. He would be the foreperson. He would volunteer and he would talk and he would lead the discussion. Absolutely. I agree with that.
I don't know what you guys are talking about.
Yeah, it would definitely be you. Chris Mullen says, but he hit her a lot and dragged her around. Yes. That is what a lot of people were referencing as far as like the domestic violence and everything goes. Like, absolutely, Diddy is a bad person. Diddy did bad things. Diddy committed, in my opinion, committed all the crimes that he could have been guilty under RICO for. My opinion is that he just didn't have the second person to agree with him. He had people that were under his control. He was paying them. He was the kind of mastermind. It wasn't an agreement, right? There was not really any benefit because these people did so many other actions in order to work for him. They booked him shows, they booked him this, they booked him that, and they just happened to book him a hotel room and help him find the tape he told them to help him find, and all of a sudden they're guilty of RICO. I don't think you can stretch it that far. So absolutely, Diddy is a bad person. He dragged her, he hit her, he domestic violence, he committed, in my opinion, all the 8 crimes that could have been predicate RICO. But it doesn't necessarily mean that he should be. I personally think he should have been guilty of the sex trafficking, but the jury just didn't happen to find it. So
I think if they had not gave those people
immunity,
it would have stuck more, because even the Jane Doe, I think they played a game of, what is it called, All Stars or whatever, where she would go find 3 dudes that she wanted to sleep with, and they would do that back to back.
Mm-hmm.
Now that's sick. And yeah, so I think I wanted them to put them all together. They were all bad apples, right? Mm-hmm. All bad apples should get punished in that way.
Well, they were also slashed victims.
You don't take one bad apple, leave 2 other rotten apples with other good apples, and it's like, okay, now that I've taken this bad apple, all the apples are going to be fine. Well,
and that's what makes it hard for the RICOs, because you don't have an organization, because you're saying these 5 people are victims, although they were in the same position as the other 2 people that you're trying to convict. The jury is going to find them as victims as well.
Yeah.
Or there may be people that point that out. Then, he was corrupt. Now, had they charged him individually for these crimes, then probably, yes, they would have found him guilty. But you saying that he was engaged in a whole conspiracy, they're not going for that. You don't see it. You don't see no notes. You don't see no text message. You don't see nothing. It's just draw the conclusion that the prosecution is thinking. That's not proving something beyond a reasonable doubt.
Mm-hmm.
Chris Mullen says, do not tell me the jury found him not guilty. They found him not guilty on the RICO and the 2 sex trafficking charges, but guilty on the prostitution. Kimmy said to Chris, they found him not guilty for RICO, trafficking Cassie, and trafficking Jane Doe, and guilty of transporting Cassie for the prostitution and transporting Jane Doe for prostitution. Yes. Yes. Chris Mullen says, yeah, true. He still had a mind of his own to know the difference between right and wrong. Exactly. I mean, you can only make that mistake so many times, right? But when you start doing it 50, 60, 70, 11 times, 30 years worth, okay? 30 years worth of these crimes. And although he may not have even thought of them to be crimes, but when you look at the letter of the law, you find out that you did a crime. Right?
Yes.
Just like if you did a U-turn real quick and you didn't see the sign.
My U-turn.
And you didn't see the sign, but then your friend said, hey, you wasn't supposed to do a U-turn there. You don't go, oh, well, dang, I'm not guilty because I didn't know. What did they say? Ignorance of the law is not an excuse. Yes.
You should be a judge.
I should.
You'll become a great judge.
People hate me.
Yes, they will.
They'll be like, girl, stop following the rules.
I would have to become your bodyguard. I'm already your bodyguard, but like full-time, glasses, looking over your shoulders, the whole 9 yards.
Stop following the rules. This man almost got kicked out of court today because he was cussing at the I didn't even tell you about that.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Chris Mullen says, hi to Kimmy. Thanks so much for that. I'm not surprised by the RICO verdict, though. Exactly. We've been on the channel. The RICO, it just wasn't there. It wasn't clear. Let me say that. It was not clear. Did he own a business? Absolutely. Were the people working for him thinking that they were getting in a criminal organization? No, probably not. Okay. They were just like, hey, I need a job and I want to be in the entertainment industry. If he says this is what I have to do, this is what I got to do. Yeah. Okay. Victims just as much as the other victims, right? Seemed hard to prove. The other 2 trafficking verdicts do surprise me, though. Yes. You are right on the same page with me, Chris. Right on the same page. He should have been guilty for the trafficking for sure. Chris says, yes, the not guilty on trafficking surprises me. Yes. Kimmy says to Chris, same, but I don't know how much of my opinion is based on what I heard outside of the trial. I wonder if the jury compromised to avoid hanging and hope they do interviews. Yeah, that is also a consideration. Maybe, y'all, it's about the 4th of July weekend, and it's a 3-day weekend. Normally, you might get 4th of July on Wednesday. You got to go back to work for Thursday, Friday. This one, you get the whole 3-day weekend. And people are trying to be out of here. Some people probably had trips booked from Thursday to Monday. And they've been there. Yeah, they've been there for a month and a half.
Because all the case was the relationship between Diddy and Cassie. They took so much evidence and presented very little evidence. I would have been annoyed myself.
We didn't even get into that. Of how they took so much evidence from Diddy's house. They didn't use none of it. The only thing they used was the fact that they had the freaking drugs. But they didn't use the guns. Let me see. What's the verdict sheet?
It's not in there.
They didn't talk about the guns, kidnapping, arson, bribery, witness tampering, forced labor, sex trafficking, transportation for the purpose of prostitution, and drug distribution. They didn't talk about the guns. Remember, that was a big deal. He had guns with scratched off serial numbers.
Yeah.
What role did that play here?
They were saying that they'll try him on that once he's released. So we'll see. I mean, if he gets this type of verdict where he gets little time, I think.
Y'all didn't do a good job the first time. Diddy did a really smart move by doing, I want a speedy trial. What I can say I was absolutely wrong on, you can probably rewind me on a couple of videos that I've done before, is I said, this trial is not going forward in May. I was wrong. I was like, they're not going to be ready. That was the whole purpose. He didn't want them to be ready. And they wasn't. They was ready, but not ready, if that makes sense. Ready but not ready. No, I don't know you. That's bad. So yeah, I hope they do interviews and let us know like what the whole thing was. But remember,
With Anderson Cooper.
They also they were saying one of the jurors was not cooperated. They was like, yes, RICO. Had to be, because that was the only charge. They had decisions on the trafficking and the prostitution. They didn't have a decision on RICO. So there was somebody in there like, RICO.
Regardless.
Change my mind. Call Alpha in here.
Nah, don't call me in there.
Call Alpha to help us.
Now you making me a Diddy supporter.
You low-key are.
No.
You're a man supporter. And that's why I had a problem with the jury.
So
Eight
no.
men.
So if you followed my statement, it wasn't that he was a man or man does no. I was looking at it more of human errors. You cannot take that component away.
Human error does not get you out of crime, though.
It does not.
So we have to consider that.
100%.
We watch First 48 all the time. Yeah. And you can be like, man, they was dumb for doing that.
100%.
Why can't we say Diddy was dumb for doing what he did?
But when you take accountability for your human error, it builds compassion that people get to see and people are more forgiving.
No.
Jeez Louise.
So if you had a kid and some hoodlum came and shot your kid, and then at the sentencing they said, you know what? I realized, because they got convicted of unaliving. They said, I realized what I did was wrong. I grew up in a bad neighborhood. My mom did drugs. My dad was in jail. I should not go to jail. What you gonna say? Your kid is now dead and gone. And this person comes and say, hey, look, I had a bad upbringing.
I think most of the time when that happens, it's not that they're going to go to jail. Usually they're facing maybe the death penalty in a sense, right? So I wouldn't want them to get killed. I understand that kid made a mistake. And
no, that's not what that was in my question. I'm asking about going to jail. I
feel like you're like twisting your question to get a certain response.
No, I'm not. If you're guilty, you're guilty. Would you say the person is not guilty because they had a bad upbringing?
They are guilty.
Okay.
But also, if they present the human side of it and they had a jury, I could see how the jury feels.
Well, let's hope we don't have a kid that get unalived. Because I'm going to say lock him up.
That was a bad example.
No, well, because it's true. Think about it. Cassie has parents. Cassie has kids. Mm-hmm. If you did this, if somebody did that to your wife, imagine somebody did that to your wife and she was young and impressionable. You wouldn't want them to have some type of karma to them?
Yeah, I agree. I would.
Yeah. So it's fine to have compassion, but it's also, you still go to jail.
Yeah.
You still go to jail. You can be like that. When I see stuff like that, it's like, dang, that person lost a person. This person lost their freedom. It's a lose-lose for everyone. That is, when I watch First 48, I'm like, that was stupid. Why would they do that for that? Why would they do that for that? That is the compassion of you should not have thrown your life away. Mm-hmm. But that doesn't mean you don't go to jail.
Right. I get it. Right. You need some consequence to it.
Mm-hmm.
I get it. I hear you 100%.
Sorry.
Do you hear me?
It got very passionate.
25%?
No.
Okay.
I understand what you're saying. I understand you say like people make mistakes. You still go to jail.
100%.
Mistake is the reason why you go to jail.
Right. But I was more so speaking to the point of why the jury might have made the decisions that they did.
Yeah.
That there is
you have
those
to follow
elements. I know. I 100%. I agree with you. But there are elements that sometimes can play into that. And people don't follow rules.
That's why you're in jail.
I'm sure YouTube says not to cuss, and people cuss on YouTube all day.
Yeah, that's what I said. I'm probably gonna get yellow flagged by even talking about this topic. So, anyways, we got Chris agreeing to hear the jury's interview. I want to hear it as well. We got Chris saying, "I would not be the first. It would not.
It's okay.
Can I read? It's 10 o'clock, okay? Leave me alone. Or it's 9:30. It would not be the first time a famous person was involved in RICO, though. But I tend to agree that they might not have had enough evidence to prove it and enough time. Like I said, they went through his house. They brought all what 42 terabytes was it? Or was it 4 terabytes? I don't know. I keep saying 42, so it got to be 42. Y'all got all his security cameras, and this is what y'all came up with. Mm-hmm. That's it. That's all we came up with.
The case was better being tried as a state case, domestic violence.
I think he would have been more likely to be convicted if all the lawsuits they were coming out with of him secretly drugging people and including minors. Hopefully he's not actually doing that. But if they had evidence of that, he would have been in jail a lot longer.
Yeah.
And I mean, I guess they could continue to go through all the evidence that they have and bring other charges later, but they clearly did a bad job. Not that they did a bad job, but they didn't get what they wanted this time. So I'm just kind of like, I feel like they're going to give up.
Do you think this prosecutor is going to get in trouble by their boss?
No.
So our state tax dollars just gone.
Your state tax dollars didn't go anywhere. This was the federal government in New York. So maybe your federal taxes.
Yeah. So exactly. So your statement is wrong.
No, it's not. You said my state dollars. Your state tax dollars.
Oh my God.
It's on recording. We're on live. So it recorded it. It recorded it. Yeah.
So okay, whatever.
Chris says, oh, that is rubbish, in my honest opinion. He was singled out because he committed crimes, some of which were disgusting. Just my honest opinion. Exactly. But not only did he say he was singled out, he said, you're doing this to me because I'm a Black. But honestly, the reason I think this all started is because he tried to go after them tequila companies. Mm-hmm. And he said, y'all are only promoting me to Black people. Now you're trying to pull the Black card as a defense. I don't like that. I can't get behind that.
I think a lot of big brands are owned overseas and they play different overseas. Yeah.
I can't get behind that. Not saying I don't want you to promote overseas. My stuff to only Black people and then turn around and say, like, well, you can't charge me because I'm Black and you don't charge others. No.
So we're not drinking Ciroc no more?
We don't drink Ciroc.
No, but
that was like a thing before we were of even legal age to drink.
That was like top shelf when we came into.
Yeah, but we don't drink Ciroc.
We don't. I like Kirkland.
Kimmy says Diddy did what Diddy does, and he gonna continue to do what Diddy do. Did Diddy do what Diddy did do it? Diddy didn't get convicted for it. Now Diddy gonna keep doing it. Diddy gonna do it.
I thought he was gonna make it to the 4th of July parade or something.
He might be out for 4th.
No,
the sentencing hearing later.
Tomorrow.
Yeah.
I mean next week.
Yeah.
He'll eat some gel food.
Some firework.
They actually give him food. They select the food for holidays.
Good for them. Because Diddy gonna be behind bars because Diddy did do it.
Eating bread, corn, potatoes. Pretty dry.
Dude.
I worked in the prison.
And you still feel bad for people in prison.
I'm not going to fight you on the compassion that I have. I think I can't take that
You
away.
saw that word in the chat and you just going for it.
I always say that. That's, I think, a thing for me where.
And that's why I am the lawyer and he's the nurse. Kimmy Logan says, don't forget to like and make sure you are subscribed. I forgot to completely say that. I completely forgot to say that. Absolutely. If you have not and you made it to the end of the stream or end of the TikTok stream, make sure you guys are hitting the like button and subscribing because we cover topics like this as much as we can. So for those of you that are original BriHive members, we are probably not going to stream tomorrow. And if we do stream tomorrow, it's going to be very, very later or very late as compared to what we normally do. Because I will be out of town for the 4th of July, unlike Diddy. So
hey, yo.
I mean, technically he's like out of town from Miami, which is where like his big house is, but that was kind of mean. That was kind of mean. But like I said, I will be out of town. So if I have time, I'll stream. If I don't, I hope I let y'all know. I might let y'all know. But thank you everyone that joined the live stream to talk about Diddy and whether he was guilty and whether the jury got it right. If anything else comes up about the case, we'll definitely talk about it. We'll talk about the sentencing. I don't know if I want to give my prediction on what I think the sentencing will be right now. I think we'll just wait until we get closer to the
Next
day.
week.
Yeah, we'll get closer to the date and see how that goes. I want to thank my lovely husband for playing devil's advocate. I don't know if he was playing or he was serious.
I was not even knowing I would be called the devil's advocate.
But the stream was very fun. I definitely appreciate everyone for joining and supporting us. And if you haven't hit the like button, please do, and subscribe if you're not subscribed. I know it's a couple of OG BriHive members in the chat, so I definitely appreciate y'all. And if you're watching on the replay, make sure you are dropping your comments, letting me know what you think about this lawsuit. Thank you, husband, for giving us your opinion and joining me on this live stream on our not regularly scheduled live stream. Any final words?
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. You know, I think this was really good. And if I turn on a red light, I will not tell her because she's going to have me prosecuted.
I'm not going to have you prosecuted, but like if you get a ticket... If you get a ticket, like you can't get mad, is my point.
I get it.
That's my point. It's like, yeah, sure. If the cop's not there, you're not guilty. But if they got a camera light, like, yeah, you can't be mad.
100%.
That's my point.
I think I got a ticket and I mentioned that you were an attorney and it got knocked down. And that's what I mean. Like there are things in place.
When did you get in?
This was like a while back. Remember I was speeding? Yeah.
Why he has so much compassion. He's right there with those criminals. God, getting caught too.
I was running late for work, like a lot of people.
Chris Mullen says, thanks so much, Bree and Mr. Bree. And mods, have a great weekend.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much. I will see y'all all on the next live stream. And I hope you guys have a wonderful holiday weekend. And yeah, a great weekend. See y'all later. Bye.
Bye, guys.
Forgot how to end the stream.